So to continue on with our discussion on ethics, somebody wrote in and said, this discussion really hits home for me. My parents are cattle farmers, and they raise cattle to sell and be butchered. Mm-hmm. They don't make lots of money doing it, they just support themselves. They also kill animals themselves for their own personal consumption, such as cows, sheep, rabbits, chickens, ducks, fish, and so forth. They've probably killed hundreds of animals in their lives so far, or have had a direct involvement in them being killed. As a child, they taught me how to kill animals as well, when I was as young as 6 years old. However, this would be my own negative karma, to be born among quote, quote, barbarians. So I have come to understand this. I remember stirring a bowl of blood to make blood sausage. It absolutely horrifies me now. But I find it very hard to watch and to go for suppers knowing what they do. I have tried to explain to them, but they believe they are doing nothing wrong. They've heard a bit about Buddhism, and they say it's too much, and they don't want to change their lives. I feel like I should be doing something, but I don't know what. I keep thinking about it a lot. A person can only say so much before it ends in them never speaking to me again. Yeah, what are your thoughts or advice to this? Yeah, difficult situation. I mean, but I bet you a lot of people have this kind of thing because there's many families that, work in this industry of raising cattle and butchering them and going out, all the people who go out fishing and, bring back seafood and kill it and so forth, or people who sell live seafood, or restaurants who have live seafood. I mean, there's a lot of people doing this. And there's a real big difference in views here. And, according to Christianity, the animals and so forth were put here for human beings to enjoy. And so eating them and killing them to eat them is not considered anything wrong. I remember many years ago, when I lived in France, we were close to some Catholic sisters, and I remember one time we went and spent a couple of days at their place. And on the first day there, we were about to sit down, and there was a bug or a spider, or some kind of insect running around. And one of the nuns just dashed up to go smash it, and I dashed up to try and stop her. And I can't remember whether I did or not, but it provoked a whole discussion about what Christianity says about animals and killing them versus what Buddhism says. And there's a huge difference, So I don't know whether her parents are Christians or not, because the same thing happens, Judaism, Islam, most other religions eat meat. Hindus, some eat meat, but many are vegetarian. Yeah, many Hindus are. And of course the Jains are vegetarian. But, for many people, they just have this view, or even they aren't religious. They grow in a country where this is just normally accepted practice. And like her parents, they make their living that way, but they don't, they're not trying to be millionaires through it. One place I taught, there was a whole family, many members of the family, coming to teachings, and they were in the cattle business, and they quite liked Buddhism. I was wondering how that, fit with them. I never really asked them. So there's just different views on this, and like she noted, it's like she tried to explain to her parents, the way we look at things, that all living beings, that have consciousness experience pain and pleasure, and just like we do. And we can tell that animals have pain and pleasure. They want to be happy. They don't want to suffer, and so not to kill them and to let them live. But the parents just say, this is too much, It's just, kind of, what are you talking about? And, and she's very right. You can say this, but then if people reject what you're saying, if you keep saying it and keep saying it, it destroys the relationship. It's not that if you keep saying it and keep saying it, they'll eventually listen. Yeah. I mean, once in a while you meet somebody this is what I was talking about last time, if people are open to dialogue versus people who aren't open to dialogue. And we have to assess that. And if somebody's not open to dialogue, the more you harp on it, the more they turn against you. Yeah. And we can see that that's also how we respond when people harp on us about something. Yeah, we just totally shut them out, And so in those kind of situations, you just have to accept that they're like that, as much as it pains you, and make prayers for them to have a good rebirth and to come in the future to understand, a deeper, gain a deeper understanding of ethical conduct regarding this. Yeah, but there's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, if you go there, you can say, I don't want to eat meat. Don't cook any meat for me, but I'll have the other food you eat. And be vegetarian, yeah. But what can you do aside from make prayers and reinforce in one's own mind that we're not going to do that? Yeah. When I lived in Seattle near Green Lake, I used to take walks around there, and sometimes there were people fishing there. And it was so painful for me to see that. But I knew I couldn't go up to them and say, you shouldn't fish, you're killing living beings. I mean, that wouldn't do any good. It would just cause a ruckus. Yeah. So I did taking and giving meditation, and I tried to generate compassion for the fisher people and for the fish. And then really said, I'm not going to do this. Because there's no reason for us to be proud and look down on other people, because any change of circumstances or change of mind, and we could, wind up doing something. So it's really important to keep reaffirming in ourselves that we don't want to take the lives of any living being. Any comments or?
Well, I think too is when I found that I started to become vegetarian, there's definitely a craving that happens in the mind and the body towards flesh. I was raised around roasted chicken and turkey at Thanksgiving, and there's a particular sort of craving that can arise. I found that even after I became vegetarian, there were certain situations that reminded me of special holidays and situations
yeah.
that I would indulge in either a fish or turkey or something like that because it had a memory attached to it. So I had a lot of things imputed on certain types of
Yeah.
that went with family holidays and harmony.
Yeah.
But there's a craving.
Yeah. Okay, so you're talking about a craving. Is it physical or mental, or both?
I think it's both.
You think it's both? Yeah, that when you try to become vegetarian, a certain craving for meat that's left over. Some may just be physical because you're habituated to eat it, and then mental if you associate it with certain holidays and family functions and everybody being together in a good environment and, the family in a special holiday, and there may be all those kind of memories, and you found that that you would eat meat on those occasions, because it was really difficult to kind of detach yourself both from the tasty longing as well as the mental longing. Yeah. But for me, the mental longing went away very quickly because I wasn't trying to become a vegetarian. I became a vegetarian before I became a Buddhist. I was on a camping, I was traveling around Europe with some friends, and we were camping, and we had gotten sausage, and we came back and we were cooking it, to eat together. And so when they put it on my plate and I cut into it, all this blood came out because it was blood sausage. And I was just like, It's like at that point it really hit me that I'm eating somebody's body, and I just said, I can't do this. Yeah. So, the mental part went away quite quickly. Yeah, it just seemed really gross.
I think too, it's been my experience that if we tell someone what to do about something, as we're saying, just walk it, but if we give an example, it gets people thinking, well, and then they might ask questions.
Right.
And with my family,
Yes.
they knew I was vegetarian, so they knew I was just eating vegetables, but the last time I was there, my brother-in-law cooked vegetarian every single time, and they're both remarking how good food was. It became really adept.
Yeah. Okay, so you're finding that that in your case becoming vegetarian, that's not the situation she's talking here. We've kind of gotten on a different topic, but anyway, that you just said to people, I'm not going to eat meat. You didn't tell them what to do, because telling people what to do, when we're all a bunch of individuals, it usually produces the exact opposite thing. And but she found that over time, then they started cooking vegetarian, and the last time they were saying how good the vegetarian food was. So sometimes being an example without saying things is what gets people thinking. Yes.
And every family function, someone would ask why I was vegetarian, and I couldn't lie. So I would say, because I think it's cruel. And everyone would sit there like, what do you mean? Yeah, it does happen to some of us that our family is very critical. Yeah. And when you say you think it's cruel, they feel like you're criticizing them personally. Yeah. But, you just have to say, from my perspective, it's like this. And then, no judgment involved, and let people think.
I think the hard part of the story really known is here you are in a relationship with people that you love dearly, and you just see that how do you look at that? How do you practice it?
Right. So getting more on the topic here is when you're living with people that you care about and you see them doing incredible negative karma. In this case, it was the killing of animals, In somebody else's case, maybe you see your family, engaging in an illegal business, or in doing illegal business, but embezzling the money from it, or people you care about, or sleeping with somebody else outside of the marriage, people you care about, or your friends or your family, and you see them creating a lot of negative karma, and how difficult that is, and you may try and say something to people, and sometimes people are receptive and they'll think about it because something's gnawing at them inside. And sometimes people will just flat out say, mind your own business. This is my own life and this is my own choice and I'm not doing anything wrong, and stop being puritanical and blah, 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 and get into a big thing about blaming you. And the thing at that time is, you don't take the blame personally, but you just realize, this person has a certain way of thinking, and they're not open to any new ideas at this moment. We just have to accept that, even though it's incredibly painful for us to watch that. Yeah? But can you imagine also what the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas go through looking at us? And we create negative karma and say, well, that doesn't matter, that's not so bad, and things like that, even though they try and help us and correct our behavior, and we're totally shut down and won't listen. Yeah, so it is difficult. Mm-hmm.
I have a former friend in Austria, and she's living at a school on an organic basis with that nature on the farm. But also, my other friends who are visiting her regularly, they never talk about these cattle things because they are against that. So they themselves are very interested in organic farming themselves, like diverse, what do you call them, like wheat and special kinds of buckwheat and all these things. So they always need to inform themselves about alternatives, and they speak with them about these kind of things, and they actually increase the production in the wheat production or other kinds of, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, now that's something skillful. Yeah, isn't it? She has some friends who visit some other people who do organic farming, and some of it is cattle.
They help them too, but not in the cattle.
Yeah, and some of what their friends do is cattle raising. But the people who visit don't help them in the cattle raising. They help them in, the growing grains. And as a result, they've started, their increase in grains has taken off. So hopefully what's happening with meat has gone down. And not so many now. Yeah, very good. Yeah, so that's quite skillful. It takes longer, because we like to go in and just tell somebody to do something and have them follow our instructions. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Okay.